A forgotten town with fog in its lungs. One main road, a diner that smelled of burnt grease and sorrow, and a motel that kept changing names like a guilty man changing alibis. The winters were too long, the silences too thick, and the nights far too easy to get lost in. This was the place Jared Woods called home. The papers had it right, at least on the surface. 6 dead in 5 months, no suspects, no arrests. No one stepped forward to claim the bodies, not a friend, not a parent, not even a stranger. They were written off as addicts, runaways, the kind of people whose disappearance was seen more as cleanup than tragedy. And the town, it turned the page like it always had. But Jared didn't. Jared noticed. Jared remembered. Jared watched. He had learned to survive in the shadows long before he understood what they could hold. His father, a drunk with fists like bricks, had made sure of that. Jared's earliest memories weren't of laughter or lullabies. They were of slammed doors and stifled cries, of bruises hidden beneath long sleeves and lies rehearsed before school. His father eventually drank himself into prison, then into death. Jared was passed through the foster care system like unwanted luggage. Some homes tried, most didn't. None stayed. Jared's temper didn't help. Quick to flare, quicker to strike. By 16, he'd given up trying to be anyone's idea of a son. He stopped expecting warmth. Instead, he built walls, thick, quiet, and cold. Somehow, he made it through. Graduated high school, found work fixing busted cars for even more busted men. Rented a rundown shack on the edge of Willow Creek and lived alone with his silence. Days bled into nights. Nights stretched into weeks. And still, the newspaper clippings piled up. 6 deaths, all women, all young, all alone. And nobody cared, except Jared. Then, unexpectedly, Lila came back into his life. She was his high school flame, the only light in a time he could barely remember without wincing. Her family had lived just 1 block away. He remembered sneaking out to sit on her roof at night, talking about everything and nothing, tracing stories in the stars. Now she was back in town, taking care of her late mother's house. They ran into each other at the grocery store. One awkward conversation became coffee on her porch, then dinner, then shared silence, the kind only 2 people with history can find comfort in. Lila hadn't changed much. Still soft-voiced, still thoughtful, still impossibly kind. But Jared, he had changed, in ways she could never guess. One evening, as twilight spread its bruise across the sky, she mentioned the velvet rose. "They reopened it," she said casually, sipping from a chipped mug. "That old motel by Route 23. They do jazz nights now, maybe an art show. Want to go this weekend?" Jared's hand froze mid-air. A flicker of something old and sharp passed through his eyes, gone before it could be named. He smiled, too quickly. "Yeah, sure, sounds fun." But that night, sleep refused him. The wind scratched at his windows like hungry fingers. Something deep inside stirred, something he had buried, starved, locked in a box and hidden under layers of routine. By 2 a.m., he gave in. He opened the bottom drawer of his dresser. Inside, a black leather jacket, gloves that knew his grip too well, and a plain black mask folded with care. Dust clung to them like guilt. He touched the mask, then the knife beneath it. Polished, ready. He told himself it was just nostalgia, just touching old memories. By 3 a.m., he was at the Velvet Rose. The parking lot was nearly empty. A few cars, no witnesses. The neon sign blinked in and out, casting a blood-red hue across the wet pavement. Inside, the clerk didn't even look up, just slid over a key. Room 8, the whisper room. No noise came in. No noise got out. He entered silently. The room was the same. Bed bolted to the wall. Cracked mirror in the corner. Stains no one dared to name. He placed his bag on the mattress and unpacked carefully. Ropes, cuffs, a coil of cloth, the knife. It was all there. It was always there. Exactly 45 minutes later, a knock.
She entered without a word.
Tall, blonde, confident. Perfume thick and sweet like poison wrapped in silk. Her heels clicked like a ticking clock, each step echoing in his bones. This wasn't about words. This was performance. This was ritual. They collided, flesh against flesh, force against desire. She was strong, surprising him. She didn't fake it like the others. Her grip left bruises. Her moans were real, or real enough. But Jared wasn't there for the act. He was waiting, watching. Then, he reached beneath the mattress and found the blade. His other hand clamped over her mouth. Her eyes widened in primal terror. He almost whispered, "Shh." She thrashed, kicked, fought with everything she had. Her nails raked his skin. He bled but didn't flinch. He'd waited for this. This was the moment, the one he lived for. He leaned in, pressing the blade to her neck, and froze. Her makeup had smeared, sweat beaded on her skin. One contact lens was gone. He saw it then. Plain brown eye, familiar, real. His hand trembled. He pulled off the blonde wig. Beneath it, brown hair, dry, untouched by glamour. He staggered back. No, it wasn't possible. Not here, not now. He looked again. There, beneath the strap of her top, a faded star tattoo. His breath caught in his throat. Lila? The name cracked out of him like a prayer. Jared's vision swam. The knife slipped from his hand, hitting the floor with a dull metallic clatter. The sound echoed far too long in the padded silence of the whisper room. His heart thundered like it was trying to claw its way out of his chest. Everything stopped moving. Time, breath, even the flicker of red light. It was as if the walls themselves held their breath. Lila lay before him, eyes wide, full of something worse than fear, recognition. "Jared?" she rasped, barely audible. His knees buckled. That voice, familiar, raw, broken, pierced deeper than any blade could. His high melted into terror. His mask no longer a persona, but a prison. A weight of horror collapsed in on him all at once. He took a staggering step back, bumping into the wall. His hands trembled uncontrollably, the adrenaline now twisted with nausea. The mushrooms, once his tool of detachment, turned on him, warping the edges of reality. Her face shimmered, Rebecca's, then Lila's again. "No," he whispered. You weren't supposed to be here." She lay still, blood mixing with tears. Her breaths came in ragged gasps, yet she didn't crawl away, didn't scream. She just stared. He could see the question in her gaze. Why? He couldn't answer, because he didn't know. Or maybe, deep down, he did, and that was worse. "I never meant," he tried, but the words dissolved. She flinched as he stepped forward, and that broke something in him. Not guilt. No, that had arrived too late. It was memory. Years of it. The bike rides as kids. Her laugh echoing in summer heat. Her standing up for him in school when others whispered about his father. He had buried that version of himself long ago, but now he clawed at it like a drowning man. "You were going to kill her," she whispered. He collapsed to his knees, face in hands. He didn't deny it. Tears, uninvited, ran hot down his cheeks, not from sadness, from ruin. "She wasn't supposed to be you," he croaked. "Never you." Her lip quivered. "But it was. I was next, and you knew it." The truth, spoken aloud, turned the air cold. They sat in silence for minutes that stretched into hours. The walls of the whisper room swallowed every sound but their breath. He stared at the floor. She stared at him. Then finally, hoarse, barely above a whisper, Lila said, "Call someone."
Jared hesitated. He could run, erase her like the others, leave no trace. This room was built for that. No one would knock, no one would care, but something in her face stopped him. He reached for the phone. The sirens cut through the dark like the scream he couldn't release. They found him seated on the bed, the knife a few feet away, his hands still shaking. He made no move to resist. Lila had passed out but was still breathing. The paramedics didn't speak to him. The officers barely looked at him. The motel manager gave one tired statement. "Quiet guy, paid cash, never caused trouble before." Jared Woods, age 34, was charged with 7 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of attempted murder. The trial drew headlines. The press descended on Willow Creek like vultures. The Velvet Rose shut down within days. The Whisper Room was stripped, sealed, and condemned. Lila refused interviews. She avoided court, but her testimony, written in her own hand, was read aloud to a stunned room. Jared said nothing throughout the proceedings. His lawyer begged him to plead insanity. He refused. When the judge asked if he had anything to say before sentencing, he only asked one question. Did she ever ride her bike past the river again? No one answered. Lila moved to another state, changed her name, but at night sometimes she still dreamed of Jared, not the killer, but the boy with scraped knees who brought her honeysuckle and caught frogs by the lake. Her scar healed poorly. She left the butterfly tattoo untouched, even though it now reminded her more of silence than freedom. Sometimes in quiet cities, when she walked past motels lit with neon, her hands would tremble. The world moved on. Willow Creek forgot, but she couldn't. And somewhere, deep in the quietest cell in the state's highest security prison, Jared stared at walls just as silent as the Whisper Room once was. He never spoke again. But every night, he saw her eyes, and in that endless silence, even monsters learned what it meant to miss someone.